Hey, what's going on, y'all? I am planning for my next 80 years. So I just turned 40 here recently, and I'm planning for my next 80 years. And I know that to some that might sound kind of outlandish and I don't know, just kind of weird, but I believe it is perfectly reasonable. Because here's the thing, human genetic lifespan potential according to our genetics is around 120 years. An interesting thing because the Bible says something about that. Um, but anyhow, 120 years, okay? And I don't know about you, but I want all that. But I'm not just talking about any old 120 years. I'm talking about 120 years of vibrant, full, whole health. Like being able to move around, being able to think right, being able to do for myself, and all that kind of stuff. Now, the thing is, I don't believe we see a lot of that now, at least in part because of the way that our society is. Like, we are surrounded by so many hindrances to living out our full genetic potential. A lot of hindrances. When you think about stuff like toxins, whether it be toxins in our foods, or toxins in the environment. We have um, distractions, things that keep us from getting enough sleep, like technology and whatnot. Um, we have other life obligations, like our work, kids, maybe older parents or friends, or whatever. We have other things also that kind of can get in the way, which make it necessary to plan if you really want to live out your full lifespan or have the best chance of doing so. We got to plan for this because it's just we're surrounded by so many things that can kind of push us toward an unhealthy body, an unhealthy life. So these are a few things I thought about I want to share with you guys that I am planning for, that I'm going to do a better job of planning for. I kind of have some things set in place, but I know I need to refine my system. So these are kind of things that I think about. One, obviously, how I'm eating, the quality of food that I'm eating, and even stuff like timing and all that kind of stuff. Um, movement. So like, am I am I moving? Because the body is made to move, and obviously, pretty much the more you move, the more healthy you are. How much sleep I'm getting. Sleep is very important. My mobility and I put my flexibility in there as well. Mobility basically just how freely you can move around because that's incredibly important as you age. A lot of times what characterizes us what characterizes people as we age is a lack of mobility, losing mobility. But I'm convinced that you can retain a lot of that mobility regardless of your age, based on what I've seen a lot of other people do. Thank God there are a lot of older people these days who are like in what seems like surprisingly great shape because they've engaged in certain kind of lifestyle habits and whatnot that help them maintain a lot of mobility, do a lot of the things that they love to do as they age. Strength training, very important from the standpoint of maintaining muscle mass and bone mass. Both incredibly important for aging. A lot of times people will break their hips, at older ages, and those falls tend to be a big reason for like mortality. And then stress management, because stress is something, it's not just like some sort of mental thing that doesn't affect your physical body, it affects you physically as well. And it's just so true these days that we live under such busyness and, always hearing bad news and all this kind of stuff that really wears down on you, and it can be a toxin in and of itself because it keeps you in a chronic stress state. So these are the things that I'm thinking about as far as like planning for. So I just kind of want to give you a little bit of insight into some of the more specifics of these kind of things that I'm thinking about. that I'm working on, maybe already I've been working on for a while, or that I'm going to work on more. Okay. So like, so with the eating stuff, a subset of the eating part that I think we need to plan for is times of fasting. Now, if you ever looked at research on fasting, and I even say like caloric restriction and whatnot, there is a link between caloric restriction of any kind and a beneficial effect on one's lifespan. I think part of that's because we eat so much in today's world, but like periodically taking times to refrain from eating. I'm not talking about starving yourself or eating disorders, but refraining from eating for a period of time. Well, it tends to allow the body to get rid of extra fat. It tends to be able to balance insulin sensitivity, and help the body to kind of detox and rest. Digestive system gets a rest. Immune system is able to reboot, so to speak. And these things, in some way, have the effect of kind of activating some of the longevity kind of mechanisms of the body, for lack of better words. And so, fasting, I believe, should be a part. It's a part of what I do, and I'm kind of tweaking and playing with some stuff there. I typically honestly fast like weekly, 24, 36 hours, something like that. Um, and it also serves another benefit of the additional benefit of helping me to kind of reset my taste buds, which is extremely important because if I reset my taste buds and I can kind of get some of that desire for sweets out of me, if that makes sense. And then once I've done that, then that means it's a little easier to eat healthily, if that makes sense. Um, So yeah, and of course, as far as like the content of what I eat, I strive to eat like a lot of fruits and vegetables. Well, vegetables and fruits in that order. And then after that, beans and lean meats and things like that. And eating out less is another one of my goals. I do okay with that. But I do a lot better than I used to when I was, let's say, in college, when I used to work at Chick-fil-A. And and sometimes, especially on the weekends when I actually was working, I might eat out 2 or 3 times in a day, and that was bad. So anyway, so there's that. Movement wise, I am aiming to be as active as I possibly can. So now I own two businesses that are largely computer based, and so I'm sitting down like most of the rest of us a lot of the day, but I seek to break up my day with movement. Why? Because it is proven that the body is supposed to be moving most of the time. That's one of the things that makes us very different than our ancestors, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, who were already moving most of the day. Okay, that's what one of the reasons we deal with so much metabolic disease because we don't move nearly as much as they did, and we eat a lot of junk that didn't even exist back then. Get some of my tea here. Green tea, by the way, high in antioxidants. It's like my post lunch drink. Okay. So anyhow, yeah, but moving a lot of the day. And so like for me, that means that throughout the day I'm gonna go another part of my office and maybe get in some crunches, get some leg lifts, it's different things like that. And not even a whole lot, but just break up the day so I can get my blood flowing. I may take a walk or something like that. Because again, we're designed to move. And if we didn't have all these computer-based jobs, and we would probably be gardening or just walking from place to place and whatnot. But we got to get our movement in, y'all. That's a major part of planning for your next 70, 80 years. Because if you keep moving, then you'll be able to keep moving, if that makes sense. Okay. Um, yeah. And so then another thing, I talk about, I say two more things. Or I say one more thing. The third thing I've been working on a whole lot of strength training. Now, you guys may or may not know I'm huge in calisthenics, meaning bodyweight exercises like push-ups, pull-ups, crunches, chin-ups, any movement that basically only requires your body. I'm big on that stuff. I'm very big on all those things because It eliminates the excuse of not having a gym. Okay. And so I'm really big on those. But I also have been a member of a local gym. My wife and I've been a member of a local gym. It's why on my YouTube channel you'll see me sometimes posting my exercise and whatnot. But anyway, strength. So I've been lifting weights and kind of lifting heavier weights. Strength training is so important, y'all. It's so important to put that stress on your muscles and on your bones to stimulate your muscles to grow. Now, if you're like me, a millennial, or even more so like a Gen Xer, then you really need to be working on this stuff because you're really at your peak of muscle building and whatnot whenever you're in your, I'm guessing like your 30s or so. And so so especially once you're outside of that age, you need to be doing as much as you can to really stimulate that muscle to stay and to even increase the bone too, because when you lose muscle and bone, that is the kind of stuff that can kind of open you up to falls, and then if you fall and your your bones are brittle, you can get one of those hip breaks, which can be pretty catastrophic. Not to mention, because it can cause you to lose mobility and get complications from there. Or, of course, you can get other injuries from falls that can be really bad. So, like, you want to be strength training. Now, don't let stuff intimidate you. Like, man, I go to the gym, I don't know what to do. I see all these people throwing up all this weight and grunting and sweating. And, you don't have to worry about all that. Don't overthink it. You really only need a few basic moves to start with, and then you can like over time increase from there. But you need to be strength training. If you're not doing that right now, whether it be calisthenics, weightlifting, a combination of both, maybe even something like Pilates. Um, I'm not sure about yoga. I don't know what, and I'm talking about more so like the movement side of things. But anyway, I think Pilates to a degree, and definitely weightlifting, calisthenics. You need to be doing something that's going to challenge and stimulate your muscles, and you want to like really try to grow your muscle because it's so good for you from a longevity standpoint, a lot of different ways. Okay, so anyway, yeah, this is just a little bit of the stuff. Obviously, there's a lot more to all of this stuff, but I don't want to just be ultra exhaustive in this video. I don't want it to be that long. But anyway, I'm saying all this to say you got to plan if you really want to live out your lifespan. If you want to give yourself the best chance to do it, that's what I'm doing. Or I'm striving to do. I'm not perfect by any means, but these are the kind of things I think about, that I study about, that I've read up on for the past almost lifetime. And so hopefully this motivates you and encourages you um to think about these things like seriously and to plan for them. Thank you guys for joining, and I hope you'll join me for my next live, and have a good day. If you're 35 to 50 years old and wanting to lose weight, get stronger, and become more athletic, but you keep finding yourself hitting roadblocks like aches and pains, stuck at the same weight, lack of motivation, even wondering if your fitness goal is impossible to reach, I got something for you. My exclusive fitness support consists of my daily fitness mindset mornings every weekday morning, where I teach you the mindset that fit people use to achieve high levels of health and fitness, and where you can ask me your specific health and fitness questions so that you can finally get unstuck. You also get access to my video workout library, as well as my fat loss workbook, fitness journal, and other helpful fitness related downloads we have available on our Patreon. If that sounds good to you and you're ready to change your mind so that you can finally change your body, your health, and your life, join us now at patreon.com/Sean B2B Fitness.